God bless stunt men. I mean, and women, stunt people, as you would say. They really make us look good. And it's to the point where I've had stunt guys, stunt ladies say, hey, don't tell people it was you who did that. It makes us look better. If they think, was that you? Say, yeah.
Tom, did you have the same stunt guy the whole time?
Chris Sayre was my stunt guy for many, many, many
Tell
years.
him what happened to Chris Sayre.
Well, I don't know how much I can say about it. Not that was any part of it, but I know there's some legal stuff at the end of it all. But he was on he was supposed to come through a warehouse on a decelerator, and the decelerator failed, and he was very, very tragically injured.
He recovered, but it took a long time. I mean, I think he fell. I want to say he fell 25 or was it 50 feet?
3 or 4 stories at least.
Did you see it?
No, I wasn't in the room. Here's the other thing. Because I had so little time that I didn't work, anytime I could get away from set, I would. So if they're like, oh, we're doing something with the stuntman, I'm like, later.
Yeah.
And even if it was 10, 15 minutes, I would take a walk.
I remember asking so many questions about that for people that were there. And one of them said, I go, what was it like when he hit the ground? He said he was just like,
well, he was broken in many places. He was just like, I was in my
trailer. He couldn't breathe. He's like,
yeah, I knew what they were filming.
Didn't
really give it much thought because everyone was so good at what they were doing. And I heard the ambulance. And I was like, what is an ambulance doing here? And then they were like, just stay here. And then like nobody wanted to talk about it. And it was very tough. A shot of you running down the sidewalk. I just remember being like, Jesus, that looks horrible.
Did it look horrible when I was running?
Yeah, because you're in dress shoes.
That's exactly right.
Run really fast.
I couldn't run. I remember it was like the dress shoes limited me. So I couldn't run really fast. So I looked kind of stupid, I guess you could say.
Well, it wasn't you running. It was, Tina Greer.
No, it was me running. My stunt guy, there's the fall, which we'll get into at the end of the episode, where I fall into the couch off the top of the Zero Club. 3, 2, 1. He doesn't go. And we stop and go, hey, is everything all right? He goes, I can't do it.
What?
I can't do it. He froze.
Can't do your job?
He said, I can't do this fall. I'm going to kill myself. I'm too scared to do this fall. I can't do it.
Well, I'm glad he spoke up. That's good.
And he didn't do it. So we had to get someone else to come in and do that and shave their head and do it.
That day?
Or I think they ended up shooting it like later that night, or they got another stunt guy that came in, shaved his head, put makeup on, and boom. It was kind of crazy.
That second guy must have been happy because he was like, how much are we talking about here?
Yeah. And you know what's funny is this guy who couldn't go off and jump off this thing, fall, do a somersault or whatever. I remember he did do a stunt where we're going like 55 miles an hour in a limo, and he just opens the door and jumps out.
He jumped out and bumped his head.
And I'm like, you could fucking do that, but you can't jump off a little. It was crazy. He had balls, but like I think he just froze. We all have those moments in life.
The corn silo.
That had to be kind of like claustrophobic being in there. I mean,
very, very, very dangerous shoot. I remember probably top 3 most dangerous things we ever did, and I didn't know it at the time. What happens is if something goes wrong and that stuff's coming down and you're in there, you're done. Like, you can't really get people out of there.
Yeah, it's hard. You die pretty quickly. You just can't breathe. Yeah, that was pretty creepy. It made me uncomfortable. Lana steals Lex's car and goes to fulfill her greatest desire, climbing a windmill. Near the top, Lana falls into a daze, and Clark catches her before she hits the ground.
So one of the things I remember about that is, so that windmill was out there. And like, it's a windmill, and you're like, okay. And they made such a safety issue of being up there and sitting there. We just see at the end is that we sit up there, not to ruin it if you haven't seen the episode, and they had these harnesses and they were strapping us down. And because of all the anxiety of safety, I started to get nervous.
Really?
I was like, because I mean, it's up there, it's high, but it's not like, 60 stories high.
I
remember climbing up there and then being like, be careful. And they were like so they were being so careful that I'm like, am I missing something here? Like, is this thing gonna fall down? Like, what's happening?
Well, on set, don't you guys have like that one person who's like the safety officer, and they're very, very passionate about their job.
They should be. They should be.
And I mean, rightfully so, but they do make things a little bit more intense. Like if there's like, even like some prop that's like kind of like half dangerous.
There's this really great story. There's this really great story, which I'm sure everybody's already heard it, but Matt Damon tells this story about when he's talking to Tom Cruise and he asks about this one stunt. He goes, "How did you get away with that?" And Tom Cruise is like, "Well, I remember discussing it and describing what I wanted to do with the safety guy." And he said, "No way, that is way too dangerous." And Matt Damon's like, "So what'd you do?" He goes, "I got another safety guy."
Are you serious?
Yeah. And he kept going until he found somebody to say, "Yeah, you could do that." I tried to convince my wife that when the Porsche hits Clark and flies in the water, I tried to convince her that I did that stunt.
Nice.
And I was like, "We got it on the first take." She's like, "That's not you." And I'm like,
well, you know what? I would think, as we go along and we'll see some other episodes, they're definitely in the beginning. I was like, no, I'll do my own stunt. I'll do this. And I remember falling. I remember hurting myself. I'll let your fucking stunt guy do their job.